Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and today my co-host Carrie Bennett and I are going to be making these complex topics of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable to the everyday person. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask that if you are listening on audio only, that you take a moment to leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It will help to get the show out to more people. And before we jump into today's topic, just a quick reminder to head down to the show notes and check out my free resources as well as Carrie's free resources. We also do have courses on a variety of topics. If you are hoping to dive deeper, Carrie and I both have practitioner courses available as well for anyone who wants to begin to bring these topics to their clients and help them to implement these strategies into their daily lives. So check those out. We also have a co-taught course called Quantum Fertility that is available that allows people and practitioners to work on their fertility using these principles of quantum biology and circadian biology. Again, thank you so much for listening or watching today's show, whichever one you are doing. And let's go ahead and jump into it now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. We've been on a little bit of a break.
We've been busy.
Yeah, we've had a lot going on. So we're back. We're back for an episode today. What have we been up to, though? Maybe we can just catch people up on that.
Yeah, sure. So we had to cancel because we were actually traveling to Confluence, which was the first time that you and I got to meet in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was so fun, which is so much fun.
We
can talk about that a little bit more because I just had a blast there. And then now we're selling what I consider to be like the coolest bundle of courses right now called the Health Alchemy Bundle, which we put together, and we just really wanted to get a resource for people. And I think it's phenomenal. We can talk more about it, but that's also why we've been a bit busy the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've been working on this for about 2 years now because we have been involved in other
Technically, you and I have been talking about it, kind of brainstorming it, but we really hadn't reached out to anyone until after January of this year.
Yeah. And we've been brainstorming about it. So that's why I say we've been working on it, brainstorming, getting ideas of like what kind of topics we'd want to put in there, because we've been a part of other projects like that in the past that were just a lot of fluff. And I would have people reach out and say, oh, I bought this thing that you were in, and the only course in there that was any good was yours. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool concept. People don't realize, like, these bundles are a cool concept because ideally what you're doing is you're getting at least 50 or more resources, from courses to ebooks to guides, about topics that are really important to you when it comes to optimizing your health. And then you get it for a super discounted price, like literally over 99% off. But I have found this too. It only works for me when I really resonate with the content that's in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's why we, like you said, we really handpicked everything that's in here, because we want to give people a resource if they're just starting off with health. And then we have a lot of people that have been following us for a while and kind of listening to the podcast and in our communities. And we see areas that need to be addressed. So people will say, I'm doing all this stuff with light and I'm still not reaching my goal. And there's more to the story. Like, light is 100% foundational. It's got to be part of the equation, but there's other things beyond just light that will impact your health. And so what we've tried to do is pull all of that stuff together for people so they have a deeper resource, and then again, offer it at a ridiculous discount, because it's about $6,500 worth of programs. And I know people who've bought some of the programs in there. There's like one program that's a $297 program. I know people who've paid retail for that, and it's part of the bundle. So it's $50 for all of this stuff that you're getting. And that's why it's only available. If you're listening to the podcast, it's going to expire tonight. So
jump on it. There'll be a link in the description. Jump on it, because
exactly.
It's important.
Yeah.
So exactly. So I think what we typically hear, Sarah, is when someone says, I'm doing all the light stuff, right? I'm doing all the light stuff. And it's like, okay, this is a good opportunity. get this resource, because there's a lot of courses that are talking about light. So you've heard it from me and Sarah, and we have our own supports in the bundle as well. But what I would do is let me listen to someone else and see how they might describe it. So, for example, Carrie Fox has a really great course that I think is really lays the foundation, the basics. But remember, the basics doesn't mean that it's not going to move the needle. These light basics are essential. And so you open Carrie's course and you say, okay, am I doing these key daily strategies when it comes to getting light at certain times, blocking the artificial light, at certain times, and how to do that? Am I being consistent? And if that's the case, then you might say, okay, well, what next? And then I know maybe in these light courses, or what you and I talk about is, well, what about hydration, right? Because mitochondrial water production is key. And so is just maintaining a hydrated body, because we now know water literally is a battery of energy for us. And we actually have 3 courses. I misspoke. We have 3 courses that are really foundational when it comes to water and cellular. Water and cellular hydration. So we've got Ismail's course, which is basically cellular hydration. We've got Catherine Clinton's all about structured water. And we've got Tracy's Hydrate ebook, which phenomenal book. Like, it's a really cool book. And that'll talk to you all about, like, basically taking the water that you drink. Like, everyone always wants to know, what do you do to the water that you drink? And she will tell you exactly how to transform the water that you drink. And then also she talks about hydration through the lens of light exposure and movement and these other pillars as well, which I like, they're so synergistic with what we teach. And so it's like, and then we really wanted to highlight the fact that there is a mental and an emotional and a spiritual component to healing. There's a nervous system component to healing.
Yes.
So there's categories there. And one of those ones that really stands out to me in that is Jade's course, which is typically Jade Tita. I don't know if he's not a typical name in this quantum circadian space.
No, I had never heard of him before this.
He digs this stuff though now. Like, he came, so Jade was actually, I never told, I've been on Jade's podcast, but I never told him this because I was kind of embarrassed. But I started following his work probably 10 years ago or so. He was talking about hormone-based weight loss. So he was talking about hormone-sensitive lipase and lipoprotein lipase, and how we can activate those different pathways for fat loss, specifically for fat loss through the lens of women who are very stress reactive. And so he talked, you would probably vibe with a lot of his older content as well. And I remember reaching out, I remember actually taking some of his content and being like, okay, how can I piece this together with what I'm learning about light and stuff, and create a program? So I created my own 8-week fat loss program here in town that I ran at my wellness facility. And I distinctly remember that a woman joined the program, and she was really enthusiastic about it, and she was getting results, and she was talking to her husband about it. And her husband is a professor of exercise science at Western Michigan University. And what she's talking about with hormones and weight loss, there's no scientific evidence on it, blah, blah, blah. I actually remember, it's so comical. But I distinctly remember emailing Jade to be like, Jade, this is, you don't know who I am. I'm literally a little old person in Kalamazoo, but I love your content. This is what I'm getting. How would you address this? And he's just like, and this was social media 101. This is where I first, I think, learned. He's like, you got to discard the people who are not there yet. Right. So you don't need to be mean. You don't need to be overly dismissive, but that this works. And, and so basically block the troll. Learn that back in the day when the troll was actually a troll in real life, like an in-person troll. But anyways,
back when we had real life trolls.
But he's involved with his content creation, and he's got the coolest course about subconscious reprogramming. He calls it depth enhanced emotional processing. So through various types of simple exercises, simple breath work, simple meditation, simple rewiring techniques to really help people who are ingrained in this same program. And that program could have been instilled in you since childhood, or it could have happened because of some traumas, little traumas or a capital T trauma at some point in your life. And if your brain can't sense thriving, there's no way that your body's going to be able to receive the healing that it needs.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the number one thing I see, in my community. I'll get a new person every now and then, and they'll post like 6 times in one day. And it's this very frantic, And I'm not upset with them for it. I just can see the behavior.
It's a pattern we've seen.
It's a pattern I see of someone who's new and they just have all this like frantic energy and wanting to have the sunlight protocols done perfectly and the nutrition protocols done perfectly. And they have 100 questions about making sure it's done perfectly. And I'm pulling back the layers a little bit. And I'm thinking it's not an issue of, yes, we need to do these foundations, but it doesn't have to be to this degree that you're stressed out about, because there's a nervous system component that needs to be supported here. I don't see it as like, oh Lord, it's one of these. I'm just thinking this person needs some nervous system support more than they need to weigh, track, and measure and have this like perfect sunlight routine and grounding for a perfect amount of time. They need to go to this first,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen this enough as well. And so funny because Jim Laird, who has been a world-renowned strength and conditioning expert for decades now. He's currently working with the national baseball team in Nicaragua. Like he's like top level. And he said the same thing during our recent Instagram Live. And it was just like that perfectionist stress mindset is so counterproductive to your body actually reaching the goals that it needs. And so it's hard though to quote unquote convince someone that they're potentially doing harm by doing good things, but obsessing about them. And so it's like, It's not that you're doing bad things. It's just, we need to kind of rewire or reprogram how rigid you are or how perfectionist you are with them. And I'm a former perfectionist, right? Like I'm a recovering perfectionist as well. Like this is something that I saw in myself. But now it's like, okay, I had enough distance from that to be like, wow, I wasted so much energy stressing about stupid little stuff that actually was hindering my overall healing journey. And so if you can find a course or that can help you reprogram this or help you rewire this, it's essential. And so Jade's course is a phenomenal resource there. There's also this idea of, we're always seeking something from without, like, or something that's outside of us to change us, to heal us. Kelly Ritter, who has spent decades in mental health, actually has a course so Kelly also gets things, quote unquote, from the circadian quantum perspective, right? Yeah. She's been through that certification pathway. She really, truly understands it. But what she's offering here is something called the art of inner cocooning. So basically, how can you put your body in a safe and nourishing space by going within and really help to guide your healing, because you are able to go within and tell your body and reprogram your brain to recognize that it is safe. There's no threat right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if your body thinks it's under attack, guess what's not going to happen? You're not going to heal. Your body's not going to let go of weight because it's trying to always keep you alive. And that's, with the people that are coming in and wanting to get everything perfect and wanting to check all the boxes and have all the protocols, I don't want them to do more protocols and have more boxes to check. I want them to get into a place where their body has a sense of safety. And it's easy to say, but these are some real life strategies. And there are programs. I've spent thousands of dollars on nervous system work and things like that. This is $50 for $6,500 worth of resources. So it's not a huge risk for what you're getting. And the stuff in there is actually like very, very, very helpful. It's the stuff that I wish I had 10 years ago when I first started having a lot of hormone issues, because I was not eating all day. I was like doing all the intermittent fasting and working out at 5 a.m. and just putting my body through the ringer, because I thought that was, I was reading the Dave Asprey Bulletproof book when it first came out and trying to do all that. Yeah. It just, my body said, this is not.
Yeah. The hard part about that one was like, it felt like it was working until I realized, until it did. And then you realize that you were literally riding on stress hormones for the vast majority. That's why you felt good, because stress hormones can make you feel good, but long term, that's a bad situation.
You have a lot of energy, you feel good. And then you're like, why did I just gain weight from like feeling like I didn't change anything. It just,
and then energy crashing. My energy just tanked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the resources that we really truly wish we had. And so that's why we handpicked everyone here. And it's not about having to rush through these either. That's why it's a no-brainer for me. It's for $50. You have to purchase it by the time this airs, by tonight, right? You do have to purchase this course, the bundle. 23rd of May. You have to purchase the bundle by the 23rd of May, the end of that day. But you have until the end of the year to access these courses. Meaning, if I want it, what I would have to do is go to Jade's website, and when you purchase the bundle, you get a code essentially to put in at checkout so that you get these for free, right? So each person, and then once you get access to Jade's course, you can do it 4 years from now, right? You have plenty of time. So I encourage people to, very minimum, buy this thing by tonight, by the end of the 23rd, and then make sure you at least right now, within the next week or two, access at least a half dozen to a dozen. Get your money's worth of what are the ones that you resonate with. The other thing here, there is no perfect play-by-play on this. Right. The way that I look at this is, I'm like, that sounds interesting to me. Like, another one that I didn't even think of for hydration is that Margaret Berry has mineral elixirs.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. Like, I want to see what her recipes for homemade electrolyte, preparation, things like that. And so that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I already have started. It's like going course by course, be like, okay, yeah, like that one's speaking to me. Let me access it. And then, let's say you get a dozen, then you'll have until the end of the year to do all of them, or download all of them, or, engage with all of them. And then you have them for life.
So we are recording this around spring, summertime. And there's one thing that I always take with me on all trips, and it is the Bond Charge mini panel. What about you, Carrie?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's portable, battery operated, super convenient to take with you. I'll use it just, let's say on my back, if I feel like I have a little bit of pain, or my stomach, if I'm having digestive issues. It's great actually as ambient light in hotel rooms when right. It's perfect
a great
for that.
Little flashlight. Yeah.
A great little flashlight. I know, if you need to, let's say you've got a couple, one of those, multi-rooms, it's got to check what's happening with the family. Or you wake up early and you don't want to disturb everyone because the only lights in a hotel room are just disastrous. And so I find that it's amazing for travel for so many reasons. But then approaching spring and summer here, getting to spring and summer, I love red light therapy as a preconditioner for the skin. And that is such an easy way to precondition the skin on the face, on the chest, on areas that actually get a lot of incidental sun exposure. And so by using red and infrared light therapies on it from the Bond Charge mini panel, you're actually giving the skin and the mitochondria support for enhanced collagen synthesis, improved mitochondrial repair and function. So there's so many reasons why this Bond Charge panel, especially Bond Charge in general, but this mini panel is so convenient for spring, summer, and travel.
We love it. So if you want to check out the Bond Charge mini panel or any of their other products, use the code QuantumPod at checkout and save 15%.
So there's no rush on this.
Yeah.
We just want this to be a really affordable resource for most people.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal, is that it's accessible. And I get these messages all the time of, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars and it's not worked. And these, I've gotten all these supplement protocols, and I'm just tapped out. And I'm like, I get it. Yeah, that's why we've pulled all this together. It's literally $50, which I know that can be a lot for people these days.
It can be.
But
respectfully, but
for what?
Even if you put this on a credit card, right? Even if you can't pay for it up front and you have to put $50 on a credit card and pay it off over the next 5 months, right? I think it still is super high value for as low as low of a price as we could have sold it at.
Yeah, exactly. I know. My husband's like, maybe you should have probably charged $99 for that. And I was like, well, we could have, but I just wanted to make sure people got it, make sure it was accessible. I do get those emails a lot from people who are like, I've just spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, look, here's something that's very low risk. And it's got what we think. It's got nervous system. It's got light. It's got nutrition. It's got histamine, non-native EMF, homeopathy, like 3 or 4 different courses on homeopathy.
Those homeopathy ones are cool, right? Like
so good.
If you are, I mean, anyone, especially parents, but anyone, if it's like basically, and it's not a big investment to purchase 25 or 30 remedies, right? And these remedies last forever. I mean, you're buying like 100 pills in a tiny little vial for not a crazy amount of money. And then once you have the remedies, they, and they'll tell you what their favorite, they can help you source which ones, know, or you can just go to your health food store, right? But now with 25 to 30 remedies, you get an insect sting, or you come across poison ivy, or you've got a migraine, or it's like, there are all these acute situations that happen all the time, just in everyday life. Hey, there's homeopathy for that. And then you've got these guides that will really help direct you through it. And the coolest part about homeopathy too, is homeopathy is not harmful.
No.
Worst case scenario is you take a remedy. I know, right? Yeah. Belladonna. No, I'm not sucking on belladonna. Like, I'm not like, ingesting poison from belladonna. This is homeopathy, people.
When I was doing homeopathy with my kids a couple years ago, and I didn't know much about it. My daughter took one of the vials, and because it's sweet,
it's
and
she sweet, just little sugar pills.
She turned the thing up and ate the whole vial. And I was like, oh. And I called Heather, working with Heather at the time. And she's like, she just laughed. She's like, it's not going to do anything. She's fine. There's no risk of toxicity with her. It's totally, totally fine. And she was totally fine. She's like, it just probably won't give her any sort of an effect.
But that's the worst case scenario. Let's say you even if I were just to close my eyes and pick for my homeopathic remedies and just grab one and take it right now, worst thing that happens is it does nothing. Right. But it's not going to create harm in the body.
Right. That's, I think it's so funny. Like, it's not harmful unless you Google it. We've been able to get my son through 3 fevers now without using Tylenol, because we've been using homeopathy, and he'll ask for it. He calls them sweetsies, and he'll ask for his sweetsies when he is not feeling good. I'll give him chamomilla if he's like super agitated about something
and angry. That's what my kids get.
You need some sweetsies. Just yesterday, my daughter was having stomach issues. She was like, it was, because she's non-speaking, sometimes I can't always figure out what's going on, but she was like stuffing her hand down her throat, trying to make herself throw up, which is not good. And then she had an upset stomach. And so I started dosing her with Nux Vomica. By the end of the day, she went to sleep. She slept for about 3 hours, got up and was completely fine. Stomach was fine. No more making yourself throw up. And so I've seen it, number one, help my son get through fevers, seen it for my daughter with stomach issues, for myself. If I start getting a little sore throat, I'll often dose myself with homeopathy and it's gone the next morning. Like, I use it for myself as well. And if people, I think, had access to this sort of information, I think it could be life-changing, because what a lot of people don't realize with fevers, I know we've talked about this before, is that if you give a child Tylenol and they are not at a place where they're lethargic, they're not eating, they're not moving, they have a fever, but they're still somewhat functional, you can actually suppress that, pathology.
That healing response in the body.
Yeah, right? You suppress the healing response, and it can actually lengthen the sickness and can actually make it worse. And our integrative pediatrician actually has an article about that on her website, Dr. Temple. And she's a standard pediatrician who also implements things like homeopathy. And she will tell her patients that she's like, if you have a question, call the office. If your child has a fever, a lot of times I'm not going to recommend that you give them any sort of fever reducer that will help to support the child during the fever. And, grandma and my husband, they freak out during these things, but
same.
We always come out on the other end. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that we had this information and I didn't have to go down this, this other route. And he comes out stronger on the other side because of it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And not to shame anyone if they've used Tylenol for their children, because it's scary when your child gets a high fever. It's scary as all heck. But we do know that, consistent use, even less so than fever. I'm not a fan of it for fever suppression unless there's an extenuating circumstance.
Unless it's an extreme circumstance, yes, then it can be necessary.
But kids are resilient. They'll bounce back from that if you have to do that every once in a great while. But if you have homeopathy on hand to at least try first, I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd be very surprised at how effective it is. And they'll go over it in these resources, because when you're dealing with an acute situation like a fever, you're dosing this every 15 to 20 minutes, right? You're doing a very frequent dosing. And then if you just, what you typically start to see then, and again, I'm not a homeopath, but like just from my personal experience, is you start to see, okay, I think symptoms are actually improving a little bit, right? Like they're not as angry, or their fever's not as hot, or at least it's not getting higher. Then it's like, okay, maybe now I'm going to dose it every half an hour. And then it's like, you just basically kind of pace out your dosing then. And eventually you're maybe giving it a few times a day for a couple of days, and then it's done. Right. And I don't know. Oh, and do you want to know what I learned from that I actually didn't know, from Jill? Jill is her homeopathy on Instagram. She brought to my attention homeopathic vitamins.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. Similar to homeopathic cell salts that have a homeopathic.
No, that was a thing.
Yeah, so it's very similar to cell salts. You've heard of cell salts, which is like a mineral that has the mineral in it, but it also has it's triturated, or it's diluted, right? So it has a homeopathic component to it. But she said that there's, it's almost like that there is a vitamin tincture, or vitamin. I don't know if it's a tincture that she has, or like a liquid-based one, or if it's actual those little sugar pills. But there's one that she recommends that I was thinking of purchasing, because it just acts as a tuning. It's that tuning fork effect, basically, to be like, hey, vitamin A, right? You feel like here you go, tune yourself back up to just like wake up in the body so that you can have a greater enhanced activity. And I thought that was really fascinating. Again, she's offering the course that Jill's offering, I think, is fabulous, because it's homeopathy on the go, your ultimate travel remedy guide, which going into summer.
She has 4 kids, so
she gets it. And she's been doing homeopathy since she was like 18. I didn't realize she'd been doing it for that long, right? So she's got a great extensive experience with it, just both personally for her own healing. And then, having 4 kids, you learn how to use those homeopathic remedies.
You do. Yeah.
That's and cool. Just really quickly too, something that you and I don't talk about it a ton, but like we have exercise backgrounds, right? You and I came into this holistic space through the lens of fitness first.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so that's why we also wanted to make sure we incorporated some fitness and movement-based courses. Yeah. And one of the ones, there's 2 courses in that movement section that I think are so fascinating, especially for kids and teens. And it's those ones on forward head posture.
Oh, yes, with Alina.
Alina has one, and then Vivian has one. And it's about like what you can do to essentially both support your posture, to support your breathing, support your nervous system. Because these days, this is, go to any high school parking lot at pickup and you're going to see, exactly. And so it's like, I can only imagine what these people's this posture is going to look like 15, 20 years from now. Oh, yeah. But what people don't realize is if the head is leaning forward, it almost gives the body a perception that it's falling. And not only that, but the muscles. So because as the head gets further and further forward, the head technically weighs more. And so more muscular tension in the back of the neck needs to happen in order for the body to try to essentially pull the head back where it needs to be. And then the fascia needs to start to lay down really dysfunctional tracks as well to provide support. So if you're someone who is maybe doing all the sunlight stuff appropriately, and you're doing the cellular hydration stuff, but you have a forward head posture, and that's going to throw your nervous system completely out of whack, because your body's just going to assume that there's a threat. You're falling all the time. Right. And so just simple things to do to realign that head neck posture can bring your brain out of sympathetic overdrive and support your breathing. Because when we're in this forward head posture, it's very hard to have functional breathing as well. So it's like a double whammy. Like you get the nervous system dysregulation from the forward head posture and the nervous system dysregulation from the typically over breathing that happens as well. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot here that I am just we handpicked these people. So we knew that they were cool people, but like, I'm just so thrilled with how all these things came together. So much
good information. It's really good information. Yeah. So
it really
we'll have a link down in the show notes, and on YouTube, I'll put up a pinned comment. It's going to expire tonight, the night that this comes out, the 23rd. We've been so busy just with Confluence and traveling. It was like, we were the week of Confluence. We were just like, we got to get ready and travel. And then we got back, and it was like Mother's Day, and bundle
and then
started.
The bundle kicked off.
Yeah. So we just haven't had the bandwidth to record, but yeah, it's a great resource. We're excited for everyone to check it out, and I hope that you don't miss it. If you're listening, go ahead and head down there and look at it. Anything else, Carrie?
No, I just really hope people take advantage of it, because we've highlighted maybe 5 of the amazing resources in this whole thing, and there's 67.
60? So, yeah, 67. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we could be here all day talking about the different things in there, but definitely worth checking out for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will chat with you again soon.